The moon hung low over Odiu village, its silver glow bathing the red earth road in eerie silence. Nady, a young palm wine tapper, paused at the crossroads, clutching his calabash, as whispers drifted through the wind. Midnight, market, treasures, the voices hissed, carrying promises sweeter than his fresh palm wine. The old Iroko tree at the center of the crossroads swayed though the air was still. From the shadows, an owl hooted thrice. Villagers said it was a witch's greeting. Nady's friend, Okri, stumbled out of the darkness, eyes wide, his raffia bag strangely heavy. I have seen wonders. Okri gasped. A market where cowries turn to gold, and deaths vanish. Nady frowned. At midnight. When honest men sleep. Suspicion tangled with curiosity in his heart. Okori's grin was unnerving. One only needs to trade something small. The rewards are endless. Before Nady could press further, Okori's shadow stretched unnaturally long, slithering like a serpent across the dust. The wind rose, carrying the faint sound of drums, distant yet magnetic, calling toward the forest. Nady shivered. He felt it deep within. Odiu village was no longer safe, for a forbidden market had awakened at midnight. At dawn, the village square buzzed with traders laying out yams, palm oil, and woven baskets. Yet, whispers spread, Okori had returned richer than before, his debts to the chief suddenly cleared. Elders muttered, how can a poor man rise overnight? Only dark powers work so swiftly. Nady watched his friend's store, overflowing with goods too fine for an ordinary farmer. Okori's wife strutted proudly, adorned in beads she once could never afford. But Nady noticed something strange. Okori's eyes, once lively, now flickered like dying embers. When children approached his store, he turned away as though their laughter pained him. Later, at the stream, Nady pressed him. Brother, tell me truly, what did you trade at that market? Okori whispered, just a piece of myself, something I did not need. His voice cracked like brittle wood. Before Nady could probe, an old woman washing calabashes nearby spat into the water. Beware, she croaked. The witch's market never gives without taking more. Even the smallest trade gnaws at the soul. That night, as the moon rose again, Nady dreamt of shadows carrying baskets of bones through the forest, chanting, come and buy, come and lose. The night sky above Odiu shimmered with stars, but Nady lay restless on his bamboo mat. Each time he closed his eyes, the faint rhythm of unseen drums pulsed in his ears. His mother, Mama Neka, stirred the dying fire and murmured prayers, sensing unease in the air. Evil works when men hunger for wealth too quickly, she warned, sprinkling palm kernels into the flames. Nady thought of Okri's wealth, of debts wiped away, and of his own struggles feeding his family. A shadow flickered across the mud wall, yet no one stood outside. When he stepped into the courtyard, a black goat stared at him, eyes glowing like hot embers. The goat bleated once, and the distant sound of market chatter rose, though the village slept. Nady's chest tightened. His feet itched to follow the sound, to seek the forbidden path Okri had taken. Suddenly, a voice, soft and honeyed, whispered from the darkness, only one step, Nady. The market awaits. He gripped his staff, trembling, torn between fear and desire. Was this temptation or madness? From the hut, Mama Neko's firm voice cut through the night, my son, remember, riches bought at midnight are paid with daylight tears. The next evening, Nady left the compound quietly, carrying only his staff and a lantern. He told Mama Neka he was fetching palm wine, but in truth his heart beat toward the forest. The moon hung like a watchful eye, silvering the narrow footpath that led to the old Iroko tree. At the crossroads, the air turned heavy, as though unseen hands pressed upon his chest. Owls shrieked from opposite branches, their cries echoing like a secret password. Before him, mist thickened, swirling into an archway that pulsed with faint light. Through the mist, he glimpsed shadows carrying baskets of fruits, jewels, and strange glowing charms. The smell of roasted meat and fresh kola nut wafted out, intoxicating his senses. He took one hesitant step, but the ground trembled, and his lantern flickered out. In the sudden darkness, a tall figure emerged, face veiled, voice sharp as broken glass. "Who seeks the market without offering?" Nedi froze, clutching his staff. His throat dried as he whispered, I only came to look." The figure laughed, a sound like rusted chains. "Then look well, boy, for once you enter, your soul will never leave whole." Nedi's breath quickened as the mist doorway widened, revealing a glowing path lined with palm fronds. Each frond whispered his name, their voices like snakes brushing against stone. He stepped through and the world shifted. Before him stretched a vast market lit not by torches but by floating flames that hovered like restless spirits. Stalls overflowed with goods, yams larger than a man's head, cloth that shimmered like water, and cowries spilling like rivers. Strange traders stood behind the stalls, women with faces hidden by chalk masks, men with limbs bent the wrong way, children with eyes too old. Everywhere, villagers haggled in whispers, exchanging not coins but small objects wrapped in leaves. Nedi leaned closer and realized, the leaves contained fingernails, strands of hair, even drops of blood. A young woman laughed as she left the store, her basket filled with gold, yet her reflection in a mirror nearby showed her with hollow eyes. Drums thundered at the center, where a masked dancer spun, scattering sparks that turned into coins before vanishing. Nedi's stomach churned. The market was wondrous, yet every smile looked brittle, every shadow too long. From behind him, a cold hand touched his shoulder. A voice whispered, "Choose, boy. What will you trade to belong here?" Nedi's eyes darted from store to store, each treasure more dazzling than the last. A merchant with chalk-white lips held up a calabash brimming with cowries. "Only a tooth, strong one. Just a tooth." Another spread out a cloth that shifted like river water. "Give me your laughter, and this is yours." Nedi stepped back, clutching his staff, his heart pounding. "Nothing is free here," the veiled figure from before said, gliding past him. "Trade or leave." He turned toward the misty entrance, but the path seemed farther now, twisting like a snake. As he pushed forward, traders hissed in anger, their goods turning to ash in their hands. Finally, he burst through the archway, stumbling into the night air of the crossroads. The forest was silent, but behind him, faint laughter followed, as though something unseen had crossed with him. By the time he reached his compound, Mama Neka sat waiting, her lamp burning low. "You went," she said, voice heavy with sorrow. "And now the market will not forget you." As Nedi lay on his mat, shadows slithered along the walls, whispering bargains in his dreams. At dawn, the cocks crowed, but in Nedi's compound the rooster lay silent, its feathers blackened as if burned. Mama Neka buried it quickly, murmuring, "The market has touched this house." At the stream, women whispered that the water turned bitter on Nedi's side of the calabash. Children who once chased him for stories now fled, crying, "His shadow is too long." Even his palm wine gourd soured overnight, the sweet taste replaced by ash. Okori visited, his face pale, his steps unsteady. "You went there, didn't you?" he croaked. Nedi clenched his jaw. "I did not trade." Okori laughed bitterly. "That does not matter. The witches count even the footsteps you leave on their path." Later in the square, Elder Motsi Ibe confronted him. "The village feels your darkness. Tell us what you carried back." Shame and fear battled in Nedi's chest. "I carried nothing," he said, though shadows cawed at his feet. As night fell, drumming echoed faintly through the forest, though no celebration was held. From his doorway, Nedi watched, and in the distance, he saw masked figures dancing just beyond the tree line, waiting. The following morning, Nedi climbed the hill to the shrine of Daibi, the village priest. The shrine stood beneath a massive udala tree, its roots coiling like sleeping pythons. Goats bleated softly nearby, tied as offerings, their eyes rolling with unease as if sensing unseen spirits. Daibi emerged, cowries rattling at his ankles, his face streaked with white chalk. "You smell of midnight," the priest said, without greeting. "The witches have written your name in their ledger." Nedi knelt. "Father, I did not trade. I only looked. Can I be freed?" Daibi cast kola nuts onto a carved tray. They fell in patterns that twisted unnaturally. "The market does not forgive curiosity," he intoned. "Once your feet crossed, your spirit became collateral." Nedi's chest tightened. "What must I do?" The priest's eyes darkened. "There is a cleansing, but it requires a sacrifice greater than you think." He gestured toward the udala tree. "A life must balance a life. To reclaim yours, something you love must burn." Horror swept over Nedi. As he staggered back, he swore he saw the tree's shadow stretch, forming clawed fingers reaching for him. That night, Nedi sat by the fire, his face buried in his hands as Mama Neka pounded yam. The priest's words echoed, "The life must balance a life." Could he truly surrender someone he loved, just to free himself? The thought turned his stomach. Mama Neka noticed his silence. "My son, your spirit is restless. Speak." He shook his head, unable to confess. To speak it aloud felt like summoning doom. Suddenly, the mortar cracked in Mama Neka's hands, splitting down the middle though her blows were gentle. The fire flared green, casting eerie shadows that danced across the compound. From the darkness beyond the fence, faint laughter echoed, children's laughter, though no children were near. Nedi leapt to his feet, gripping his staff. "Who is there?" The laughter faded, replaced by a woman's voice whispering, "Trade, Nedi, before the market takes her for you." His heart pounded as he turned toward Mama Neka, who hummed softly, unaware of the danger circling them. For the first time, Nedi realized the witches would not wait for his decision. They intended to claim his mother as the sacrifice. At dawn, Nedi walked into the village square, his heart heavy with urgency. He gathered men and women near the Iroko tree, speaking boldly, "The witches' market is a curse. If we do nothing, it will swallow us all." Some nodded nervously, while others shifted uneasily, avoiding his eyes. Elder Motsi Ibi rose, leaning on his staff. "Your words are true, but fear binds our tongues. Who dares fight what walks at midnight?" Okori staggered forward, his face pale. "I traded, yes, but I am richer now. Why speak against blessings?" Gasps rippled through the crowd, but a few young men murmured in agreement, envy and greed gleaming in their eyes. One woman lifted her child, thin with hunger. "If the market feeds us, why should we resist?" Nedi's chest burned. "Do you not see? Each gift hides a debt. Already Okori withers before your eyes." Okori snarled, lifting his raffia bag. "Better a short life of plenty than a long life of nothing." The crowd erupted, half cheering him, half murmuring prayers of protection. Nedi felt the ground beneath him thrum, as though the witches themselves listened, pleased at the division. Above the uproar, a distant drumbeat rolled from the forest, steady and mocking, sealing the village's fracture.